Okay. Hi, it's Susanna Choi.
To record my conversation.
Thank you so much. Okay, so sir, I just want to ask you, I'm videotaping now. What I'll actually have is audio of you, and I'm trying to get NYPD Joe Sanchez an honorary reinstatement 30 years later. He's not asking for money. It's for his kids, his grandkids. So I want to ask, you were an internal affairs lieutenant at the time, 30 years ago, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and you believe that Joe is innocent, correct?
Now, here's the thing. Our investigations are supposed to lead to a finding. You understand?
Yes.
Now, my finding was that the case was unsubstantiated, which means it could not be proven one way or the other, and that there was no basis for further prosecution.
Okay, and then I'm going to be meeting with you. I think he was your partner, Angel. Yes, I'm meeting with him in Florida in 2 weeks.
No, I worked with him years later.
Oh, years later. So he wasn't a partner at the time, because he's already spoken up, and I'm going to be interviewing him in Florida when I fly down there, and he believes that Joe is innocent. So basically, you investigated on your end, and you found that it was unsubstantiated.
That's right, unsubstantiated, and not worthy of further prosecution.
Okay, so
in other words, there was conflicting evidence. You know, somebody made an allegation against him, and I would say that they were of poor credibility, and there was no corroboration.
Right, it was drug dealers, and Joe and I actually went to the apartment. He was never alone. His partner, I'm interviewing his partner, who also says that Joe is innocent. But when Joe and I went to that apartment, it didn't seem like there was enough time to rob anyone, that he was never alone. I don't believe Joe has robbed anybody in his life, but it seemed so ridiculous that Joe would have had to be alone and robbed each one of those people without anyone seeing, including there was someone...
There were numerous people there, and other people were questioned, and they all denied that this happened. You understand?
Yes.
So, again, people lie. People frequently lie.
Yeah.
And that's why we have to prove things, right?
Yes.
Now, also, when people are questioned by me, they're not questioned under oath.
Right.
So there's no penalty for lying, really.
Right, exactly.
Unless we can prove it. Like if somebody recants later on, if somebody changes their story and admits that they lie, then we can arrest them.
Right. Because
they admit to the lie, but I find that if people, they didn't admit to lies, they would have all kinds of excuses, you know, they would stick by their stories.
Right.
And also, who benefits by these lies?
Drug dealers.
Usually people are protesting their innocence, right?
Right.
They're protesting their innocence. So, I was really surprised that Joe was prosecuted on the basis of what I had investigated.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate this. You know what is your name again?
My name is John Verwoerd, V-E-R-W-O-E-R-T.
And you were a lieutenant in internal affairs.
I was a lieutenant in a field internal affairs unit, and I did a few investigations on Joe Sanchez, where he was accused.
And you found that it was unsubstantiated.
And I found that they were all unsubstantiated. I don't recall anything being where he was completely exonerated, because, again, we have to have positive evidence. You know what I mean? Which would mean a recantation by somebody who made a complaint. And these people, they don't do that. They don't do that because they would implicate themselves.
Right. So no one really, there was nothing substantiated.
Nothing substantiated.
Yeah. Unbelievable. Charles Hines wrote that he should be reinstated, give him his job back. And so now, 30 years later, I'm hoping that we're going to get him his job back.
Yes. What I would suggest is that when he was terminated, they had to give some reason. And that would be something on paper. So if you could get that termination paper and read through it, you would find out what the basis for the termination was.
Well, basically, what we have is Charles Hines saying that it was wrong what they did to Joe and reinstate him. And for some reason, the police commissioner at that time would not reinstate him. So it seemed to me that Joe was, blowing the whistle on people. He was arresting a lot of drug dealers, and the police department wanted him out. What else could it be? But I'll talk.
Well, see, that's, when you get into conspiracy theory, the police department was doing so many things to encourage people to blow the whistle. They had certain things going on, like the use of field associates. They were encouraging people to blow the whistle.
But did anyone come forward and blow the whistle and not somehow be retaliated? Because it seems to me the police department
there
hasn't...
was always a danger of retaliation. That's why the whistleblowers were protected, too.
Can you name
but again,
one...
That wasn't my area of expertise.
Right. Because I don't know of one NYPD whistleblower that's ever been able to come forward and not face the stiff penalty of retaliation from Serpico on...
Right.
Yeah.
That's right. That's what happened to, like, Serpico as an example, right?
Right, exactly.
There was retaliation, and people, instead of giving him credit, they dislike him to this day, right?
Absolutely.
But he was really responsible for bringing about great change in the police department.
Correct. Absolutely. All right.
What I do know, Joe Sanchez, he was a very active police officer. He received commendations from the police department. And I would say that he was an effective, active police officer.
When you say active, what does active mean to...
Active means he wasn't someone who was inactive. He would be proactive.
It means he made a lot of arrests, right?
He made numerous arrests.
Numerous arrests.
And he placed his life in jeopardy.
So
which not everybody's willing to do.
So he was really a courageous, active police officer.
Yes, I think, and that's why he received awards.
He did. He has. He's a chest. He had a
chest
full of awards. Right. He's quite a rack. He quite a rack.
Yes.
All right. Well, bless you and thank you very much. I really appreciate you taking that time. Anything else?
You're successful in your endeavor.
Thank you. Bless. The basis of the termination was Joe violated his oath of office because the jury found him guilty of assault in the 3rd degree, which was later dismissed by Charles Hines because it was Joe's rights that were violated and Joe did not assault the drug dealer. The indictment against Joe Sanchez was later dismissed. Annabelle Washburn, a juror, wrote Charles Hines asking that Joe Sanchez be reinstated. Charles Hines agreed Joe Sanchez should be reinstated. Commissioner Ben Ward refused. 30 years later, we are asking Mayor de Blasio and NYPD Commissioner Bratton to give Joe Sanchez an honorable reinstatement. Please read the petition on change.org.